Thank you for participating in the OSDBU podcast. And of course, OSDBU, that's Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. I'm Temi Yoshinuga, I usually say procurement, President Management Council Fellow from the Department of Energy, currently on detail to the HUD OSDBU. And I usually would say procurement because I'm a procurement analyst at DOE, so that throws me off all the time. So the focus of today's podcast is to gain a better understanding of the goods and services that HUD buys and to glean information to help our small businesses and industry as a whole to write better proposals. So today I have with me two procurement experts from HUD. We have Jimmy Scott from the Chief Procurement Office, Deputy Chief Procurement Officer. And we also have with me Ergene Lee from the HUD OIG, and you're the Director of the Contracting and Procurement Division.
Thank you.
So welcome, guys. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
So we'll start with you guys introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at HUD, the mission of your organizations.
Okay, so as you said, I'm Jimmy Scott. I'm the Deputy Chief Procurement Officer. Been at HUD for 8 years. Started here as a division director, and as you said, now I'm the Deputy Chief Procurement Officer. Came to HUD by way of industry. Worked for both small and large business government contractors. And before that, I was a Marine for 6.5 years.
Oh, wow. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
So thank you for having us, Tammy. Really appreciate it. My name, again, is Gene Lee. I'm the Director of Contracts and Procurement within HUD OIG. So I have about 15 plus years of experience myself. And just to provide a brief overview of what HUD OIG does, we are the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Office Inspector General. And our mission is to assist the department by providing oversight of HUD and to help prevent waste, fraud, and abuse. And basically, we consist of about 4 offices. I fall under the Office of Management and Technology. We provide mission support functions such as acquisition, such as communications, and budget and finance. But also, we support the 3 primary offices within OIG. One is the Office of Audits, which is the financial accountants that do the more detailed 9 to 12 month financial audits. We have the Office of Investigations, which are the criminal investigators that carry a handgun and that they are the law enforcement agency, part of our agency. And then we have the Office of Evaluations, which does more 90 to 120 day short-term audits, if you will, that have to do with more program evaluations. They're more nimble, more short-term audits. So part of my job is to do the acquisition for HUD OIG, but also the other half of my job is to assist with the acquisition acquisition portion of our audits and investigations, because our criminal investigators and our auditors are not always experts in acquisitions. That's the other half of my job.
You guys have a wealth of knowledge in acquisitions. So the information you'll be sharing today will be invaluable to industry. So let's talk about the goods and services that HUD buys. So when you hear the department's name, Housing and Urban Development, most people think construction, housing. So is construction one of your predominant spend here? Or if not, what do you typically buy here at HUD? Or, Jimmy?
So for HUD, we do very little construction, and the construction that is done is indirect. HUD spends more money on actually the finance industry, looking at investment portfolios as well as mortgage-backed securities and the like. The second part of our spend is actually on maintaining HUD subsidiary or subsidies, which is Section 8 properties, multifamily properties, and how they are actually maintained. The third part is really in IT. So those are really the big 3 areas that we spend money on. But HUD has such a diverse portfolio of program offices that we run the gambit of goods and services, that are bought. But finance, IT, and property management are our 3 biggest.
Oh, that's great to know. Ergene, what about the OIG?
Yes, for HUD OIG, much similar to actually HUD, major buy is actually information technology services as well, because we have to maintain the highest technology to ensure that our criminal investigators, our auditors, and evaluators have the topmost technology to carry out their mission. For second, actually for us, it's specialty audit services, because we do have a very robust staff that fulfills our daily mission. But in some cases, we have to purchase for specialty, highly specialized, highly customizable audit services. So that's actually our second buy. And then the third one is actually facility management for us, which includes construction and renovations, because much similar to HUD, we do have regional offices throughout the entire nation. And more often than not, HUD OIG is co-located with the department's offices as well, and so we have to maintain, we follow their policy for the construction and renovation projects as well, and so that's our third biggest purchase.
Oh, I see. Does procurement reside mainly in the DC area, or do you have offices in other regions?
Actually, we do. So we have 5 divisions located here in headquarters that services the entire country. So the program offices, regardless of where they are actually located. But we also have offices in Atlanta, Chicago, Philadelphia, Denver, and Fort Worth, Texas.
Wow. So do those offices support specific programs, or do they just support the buying for offices within that region? How does that work?
So yes, the answer to that question is yes. So they do provide some direct support to the offices in the field, such as the housing HOCs, housing operation centers. They also they support certain program offices. So as an example, PIH, the Public and Indian Housing Program Office, is actually primarily supported out of our Denver office.
I see. Oh, interesting. Does the OIG have offices, procurement specifically, offices in other regions as well?
So not really. For us, everything is centrally managed within the headquarters, but we do support various regional HUD and HUD OIG offices. So, but for us, we are small enough that we can centralize all of our acquisitions.
Interesting. So the Osdebo office generally meets with a lot of small businesses, right? And one of the questions they typically ask is, we want to support HUD. We want to provide our goods and services, but we don't know how to get into HUD. We don't, how do we start? So what would you recommend to a small business, even large businesses are interested in, supporting HUD? Where would they start to get to know HUD, the mission of the program offices, and just get to sell their products and services?
So if I had to give advice to small businesses, I'd say 2 things. The first one is look at the procurement forecast, which is published by our Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, to familiarize yourself with the needs of HUD at that time and see how it aligns to your business. The second thing I would say is to come to the Osdebo outreach events that are held, at least quarterly, sometimes more often than that, to actually get to know and learn more about HUD and how to do business with HUD. So those would be my 2 recommendations for any small business looking to do business with HUD.
Okay. Urging, how about the OIG? Considering your mission, how would a vendor, get to know your office?
So thank you for the question. Actually, let me start off by saying that it's important to note that the Office of Inspector General community as a general, and also HUD, Office of Inspector General, they pride themselves on being independent from the mother agency. And it's very important to do so, because by maintaining independence, can they assure that they're providing adequate oversight to prevent the waste, fraud, and abuse? And again, they fall under the Mother HUD. In our case, we fall under the Mother HUD's policy. But again, it's important to know that we have a separate mission. So, similar to what Jimmy was mentioning, it is important to stay abreast of the forecasting. HUD OIG has its own separate website which talks about our own mission and the setup. We do participate on the quarterly and the monthly events that OSDBU, the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Utilization Office, hosts. And so that would be the best way. And again, but it's important to know that OIG is going to be always separate, and it's because of our independence that we have to maintain.
So how can vendors get access to RFI solicitations issued by HUD? Are they located on a specific website? Do they need access to a database? How do they get access to, your RFIs and solicitations?
So all RFIs and solicitations for HUD are published on what are called ports of entry. And so the primary one that's used is FedBizOps. Which is used across the federal space. The other things is there are a lot of vehicles such as Best in Class, the different schedules that are put out by GSA, GWACs that exist, which are specific to IT. They're just IDIQs in indefinite delivery contracts that are specific to IT, but they have their own portals. And so the actual businesses that are on those actual vehicles are familiar with those portals. And so if we are sourcing a requirement through one of those vehicles, then we must use their portal in order to get it to that vendor pool. And so primarily, that's the way HUD does it. We no longer actually maintain a separate website to actually post opportunities on, but we actually post them publicly via FedBizOps or one of the other government portals.
Wow. Thank you. Is that the same for OIG?
It is, and the one thing that I wanted to highlight was actually GSA eBuy, because the predominant acquisition that HUD OIG does is actually under the simplified acquisition threshold. And so for those, we will almost invariably use GSA eBuy, which is using a subpart of the FAR called FAR 8.4, which talks about federal supply schedules as one of the optional sources for government acquisition. So that's the one that we will use predominantly.
Okay. Does this also apply to your actions under SAT threshold, the simplified acquisitions threshold, or micro purchases? Because we have vendors from some of the matchmaking events I've participated in. We have vendors come in and say, I'm only interested in SAT actions or micro purchase actions. Do you have a website or anywhere on the HUD website where that could be located?
So I don't remember what the HUD policy is, but for the forecasting that we post through the OSBU office, we try to include as much as possible, which includes not necessarily a micro-purchase threshold, but anything above the micro-purchase threshold up to the simplified acquisition threshold, we include in our forecasting. But for those, as I was saying, the predominant posting mechanism that HUD OIG uses is actually the GSA eBuy portal that Jimmy was referring to.
And for HUD proper, it's much the same. So the forecast includes everything over the micro purchase threshold. So for those simplified acquisitions, and we would use one of those portals to actually provide those announcements out to industry. For micro purchases, it's a little bit different. And so for micro purchases, that's really where small businesses or any business really needs to know that customer, and that customer needs to be familiar with them, because the requirements for market research under FAR Part 10 requires all market research to be done, but at the micro purchase threshold, it gives the buyer the ability to go direct to one vendor without competition on that. And so because of that, if the customer is familiar with the goods and services that a business provides, then they have a better chance of being identified as the one to provide that under a micro purchase. So there's not a really announcement for micro purchases, but definitely for simplified acquisitions, they will see those announced on the portal.
Oh, great. So let's talk about being procurement ready. That's a term we hear all the time. It's frequently used by industry. And there's this particular saying that I've heard where it is say, once the opportunity hits the street, you're too late. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Not too late, but definitely you're behind the game a little bit. And so because one of the things that is good strategy and good bid and win strategy is to be familiar with the requirement. And so if the first time that you're seeing that requirement is when it's actually already been announced, then you have a time constraint. You have 10, 20, 30 days, maybe a little bit more, to actually put a bid strategy together and write your proposal. And so while it's not unheard of for somebody to win a award that they didn't prep for before, it just means it's harder work to get a good proposal in the time frame that it's usually out on the street before the closing date. So while it's not impossible, it is going to be a challenge for anyone who's trying that approach to winning contracts.
Makes sense. So, Ergene, how can a contractor be procurement ready?
So I will build upon what Jimmy was mentioning, that I believe it really is all about relationship building. And to Jimmy's point as well, relationship building is important, not that you will get preferential treatment from the program office or the acquisition shop, but it gives you a leg up in terms of information. You'll get perhaps maybe not advanced information because that has a negative connotation, but you'll have some relationship that will enable you to know where the program office is heading, what their current sources are. Could you partner with existing sources? Could you be a little bit ahead of the game and find out about upcoming procurements and stuff like that. So relationship building will get you, not again preferential treatment, but it'll give you a leg up in terms of additional information that you would not have otherwise. So that, in my mind, is going to be key. It's, again, to Jimmy's point, I would agree that it's not unheard of for a complete outside vendor to win a upcoming request or solicitation, but it is very, very rare because, again, we have some direct award opportunities. More often than not, it's using what's called the 8A business development program that we can use, and stuff like that. We, again, if you have that relationship, then we could streamline that acquisition much more quicker. But again, it all starts with, I believe, establishing the proper relationship, building that rapport with your program office, and that way you can get some information, if you will, that you may not have otherwise have access to. But again, as acquisition, we always have to remain impartial. We cannot show any vendor particular preferential treatment, but at least that will help.
Knowledge is power.
It is power.
It is. It is. It is.
All right. So after a vendor has reviewed, seen a solicitation out on the street, and they've made a determination that this is a good fit for their business, right? One of the things they typically would do would be a deep dive into a solicitation. So from my perspective, every part of a solicitation is important, from sections A all the way to M. From your perspective, what areas would you recommend that a contractor focus on when they, start deep diving into the solicitation, and why would you recommend that they focus on those areas?
A through M. And here is why. What I would recommend to any business, and small businesses included, when they're looking at a solicitation, is that they read the entire solicitation, cover to cover, every page, every word, and create a matrix of every requirement, whether it's a technical requirement or it's a business requirement, what font is required, how many pages, and they make a matrix of every requirement that is listed in that actual solicitation. And those things can be found throughout the solicitation, and so that's why I echoed A to M, because then they can ensure that they are addressing everything that the government has asked them to do in their solicitation. It does them no good to have the best approach in the world at the best price in the world if they didn't provide a compliant response to the other aspects of the solicitation and all the information that was requested, because then they could actually lose that opportunity even though they may have had the best solution for the government. And so there's, obviously people would say the scope and the tasking is important. Some people will say the actual L&M, the instructions to the offers, and the evaluation factors are important, and they are. Right, but there are requirements for the solicitation found throughout that they need to be familiar with and respond to.
That's true. Urging.
I would agree with that. I don't echo everything that Jimmy was saying. I would also like to pay some particular attention to the requirements, if you will. That when you are reading the key requirements and you're proposing your technical approach to meet those requirements, I think it's very important not to reiterate and just read back the government requirements and say you can do X, X, and X. You have to come up with your own creative approach and, again, provide a substantive and realistic technical approach how you can meet the government's requirements and delineate that very, very clearly. It's not going to be good enough just to read back the requirements. You have to come up with your own technical approach. Again, the emphasis being on technical approach as to how you would meet the government's requirements, how you show a solid and developed, well thought through approach to meet the government's requirements, I think is going to be key.
That's a really good point. And I say that because we hear that a lot in debriefings. You have vendors, repeat the information from the statement of work, and you have programs say to them, yes, you repeated what we said we wanted you to do, but we need you to tell us how you're going to do it. So That's really key. point that you brought up there. So let's talk about past performance. How important is addressing relevant past performance when you submit when a vendor submits a proposal?
Well, it depends on the solicitation
Okay.
because the solicitation will outline exactly how important past performance is and how it will be weighted in the evaluation. Having past performance in a particular area, being able to demonstrate that you've done it before, is oftentimes very highly looked at by an evaluation team. It gives a level of confidence and reduces the risk associated with that vendor's proposed solution if they can talk to, demonstrate, or show that they've done it before, or the people that they are bringing to the table to actually perform the services have done it, even if they haven't done it as a corporation. And so, once again, looking at the solicitation to see how it will be weighted, but past performance is oftentimes is more highly weighted. Usually, somewhere right behind technical approach, you're going to see past performance listed in the order, descending order of importance, or it'll be equal to everything else. And so having past performance or being able to bring demonstrated capability to the table will always give you a leg up in a source selection evaluation and decision.
Great. So Urging, you have vendors that are new to the federal space. They don't have any federal past performance. What would you recommend to such a vendor who's interested in, doing work at HUD?
So, we don't require, and I think government-wide acquisition professionals follow the same mantra, that you don't need to have specific agency past performance, but anything in general, corporate experience will do. And in some cases, I believe we again follow the HUD CPO, Chief Procurement Officer's policy as well. In some cases, if the corporate entity itself has no experience themselves, then I believe we can adopt some of the key personnel experience and use those in some limited instances. Again, I would refer to the solicitation in question to look at how they lay out how the past performance will be evaluated. But that's one key thing, one key point I wanted to make, was that it's important to read the evaluation method in the solicitation as to how they will be rated, and it's important to read how each past performance rating is defined. So you will be rated an excellent for past performance if you meet these requirements. It's very important to meet that, and again, do your best as a vendor to try to meet the highest rating possible. And so that would be my advice to small businesses and large businesses alike.
The one thing that I would add to that response is also looking at your entire team. Gene mentioned the key personnel, but you also have subcontractors who may have past performance that is relevant and that you can bring to the table. And so while if you don't demonstrate any past performance in HUD, you will get a neutral, which is not good or bad, it's just neutral. But if your subs actually have relevant past performance, you can use that relevant past performance of your subcontractors to actually have a rated level of past performance for your bid team.
Got it. So is HUD past performance necessary to win a contract?
Absolutely not. Okay. So there used to be where people would talk about past experience versus past performance, and we actually now have removed that from the vocabulary or any documentation. It doesn't have to be HUD past performance. Okay. It's because it doesn't matter where you've demonstrated your capability or your ability to perform that task. It's that you have demonstrated the capability to perform the task that's being requested. Because if we did that, then HUD would be seen as a closed house, and you have to be here in order to win awards, and that's absolutely not true. We have new vendors entering our portfolio every day.
Great.
I completely echo that.
Great. All right, so let's talk about proposal submission. So many CEOs, that's contracting officers, receive proposals from vendors that could, be missing key information. Sometimes the pricing or cost information is missing from the proposal, or maybe key technical information, or sometimes they just exceed the page limits. What recommendation would you have for industry when they review their proposals to ensure that, they have everything that they need in it before they submit it to the government?
So in general, I would echo what Jimmy was talking about earlier, that it's important to have a checklist. And I do believe for the vast majority of our contracts, and especially HUD OIG and HUD overall, we have a matrix as part of the proposal submission that you exactly match what solicitation requirements are met by which section of your proposal. And I think Jimmy referred to it as a matrix, which I think is absolutely going to be critical at the beginning of the proposal and when you submit it, so that you make sure that you've checklist every single one. And one advice that I have is actually specific to the page limitation. We have seen some proposals get creative and attach appendices, attach table of contents that are not authorized. And so and solicitations are getting smarter and smarter. We will say that the page limitation is 40 pages, and anything exceeding that, we will truncate it. And the last thing that you want is to have your proposal truncated inadvertently. So I urge our vendors to please pay attention to those proposal submission instructions. Page limitations, if it says 40 pages, please keep it to 40 pages.
And so the only thing that I would add to that is, yes, the matrix, having a matrix is key. It is a best practice for the contracting office when they put the solicitation out to actually require it, because it makes technical evaluation easier. So it's a selfish reason. It actually makes technical evaluation easier. But have your own quality control process. Regardless of size of your business, someone who was not part of necessarily the development of that actual, they didn't help to write the proposal where you can, but they're actually looking at it from a compliance standpoint, a quality control standpoint, and they're putting fresh eyes on it to make sure that you've addressed everything that you need to address in it. They don't have to be technical. They don't have to be necessarily the program manager or something like that that's going to be working on the requirement, but they're just somebody who is looking and saying, we were supposed to do this, did we do it? We were supposed to do that, did we do it? Are all the parts there when it's being boxed up? Check, double check, triple check, because, as I mentioned earlier, you don't want the contracting officer to get your proposal and it's deficient because it's missing information that you still had back at the office.
Yeah. It's always great to get a second set of eyes.
Yes,
third,
it
fourth,
is.
if necessary.
Absolutely.
It is.
Okay. Do you have any other thoughts you want to share relating to that?
No, I think we're good. In some cases, resumes also have their own specific page limitations, because we do see a lot of cases where key personnel is going to be an evaluation key component, and then we have, like, we'll say 1 page per resume, 2 page per resumes. But again, it's still important to keep that in mind when you're looking at the overall page limitation of the proposal, because sometimes we'll say the technical approach cannot be more than 20 pages. Each resumes are separate, but they shall be capped at 2 pages per resume.
And on the resumes and key personnel, one of the other things that we oftentimes see is the solicitation requires either letters of commitment or that the resumes be signed, and that either that letter of commitment or the signature is missing. And so now you have a deficiency in your solicitation or in your proposal.
That's true. I've seen that happen.
Yes.
I've seen that happen. So, Jamie, I know you have private sector experience, federal government experience. So, just thinking back to what you saw while you were in the private sector and what you've seen as a Fed, what last recommendations would you have for industry relating to writing a successful proposal?
The biggest thing that the final thought, if you will, that I would have is know your customer and know your business, and make sure that you are sniper-like in what you're actually proposing against, because it is a cost associated. I said this at the small business outreach event as well. There is a cost associated with putting proposals in. And so you don't want to really just bid on everything, but be strategic about it. Find the opportunities that are right in your lane that you can perform and perform well at, and target those, because what you will do is you will win. You may have to run up against some no's. You may have to not win some proposals or some opportunities that are out there. But if you are tenacious almost in what you do or persistent in what you do, you're going to win and you're going to get better at it. Right? Every proposal is a learning experience. So in order to get that learning to make you better, ask for a debriefing. On your proposal, so you know what you did well and then what you did not so well, so you can improve on the actual next proposal that you write, which will enhance your skills or the skills of your company, and will allow you to put forth a better proposal that will get you to the win. And then the other thing is make sure that you bring your whole team is part of your proposal writing. So if you have subs, make those subs also be part of that proposal writing. It will end up in a better solution if you bring that diversity to writing your proposal.
Wow. Thank you, Jimmy. Erjane, do you have any last thoughts?
So for me, my final word of advice to our vendor community is do not make assumptions. And I'm talking about proposal writing, I'm talking about reading the solicitation, I'm also talking about contract performance. It's very important that we hash out all the details that are sometimes ambiguous and sometimes unwritten in the solicitation and the contract. And we hash it out early beforehand, before we start contract performance. Because the last thing that you want is make an assumption that, oh, I think this means this, and then the government has a different idea, and then we'll have to end up in a dispute oriented, maybe even a court proceeding, which we want to avoid. So on the solicitation, if there's any ambiguity, you should ask the questions before the question period closes for the solicitation. During the contract performance, we usually have what's called a contract kickoff meeting, where we have the contracting officer representative, the contracting office and the program office all present on a single telephone call or a face-to-face meeting, where we can talk out these details that any one of those parties are unclear about and hash it out. And I think that's going to be key to successful contract performance and solicitation and contract winning.
Great. Awesome. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I really appreciate you making out time today to, share your insights, experience, and helpful tips to the small business, and not only small business, to the whole industry as a whole. And hopefully in the future, when the OSDW extends this opportunity, I hope you would accept. We really appreciate you being here, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.